and gentlemen, welcome to a Walking with Beau, an almost daily walking vlog. Today it's raining a little bit. Right now it's misting, so we're going to walk in some mist, a little bit of rain. I'm not going to melt. It's pretty humid today, about 68 degrees. Tomorrow we're going to have mid to upper 80s. It's going to be warmer. And looks like we'll be able to go shooting tomorrow. We were supposed to have 3 days of torrential soaking rain, but we are not. It's like just 1.5 days, and it wasn't too bad. This, of course, is the remnants of Hurricane Debbie right now, which now is just mist. It's petered itself out. So we're gonna walk, and on the way back, if I remember, I gotta stop at a store and pick up a 2 liter of fizz, because I need my fizz. So anyway, I don't mind a little bit of water. Saw me get soaked the other night pretty good. And one of my excuse me, yesterday was nice and sunny, and the walk before that was, I got poured on, and you got to see it. So I was watching a video earlier, and it was pretty difficult, because you realize when you watch it that 62 people died. But there was this airplane that was having trouble, and then it just complete engine loss, and the plane fell straight down, like somebody picked it up on a crane and then let it drop. The plane did not fly into the ground with any speed. It was virtually non-existent for speed. It just literally just fell out of the sky. And that must have been absolutely crazy on board the moments before they all died, but they did all die. So it was also full of fuel. So that was in Brazil. That was a Brazilian plane. It looked like a big dual prop passenger plane. That's what it looked like, but it was a big one, kind of like what they used to have. So I don't know what the story was with that, but it crashed, and the outcome was not good. And there was video of it crashing, a couple of different ones I saw. So anyway, the other thing I saw today in the news, which was interesting, is As you know, Harley Davidson hired a new CEO a while back, and he was one of these woke idiots. Have no idea why they hired somebody like that. And the company brand was having a hard time to begin with. So this guy came along with all this DEI stuff, and the customers got mad and they boycotted. And now the Harley Davidson dealership in San Francisco is closing, and they've announced they're going to be closing a bunch of other Harley Davidson dealerships. So 110-year-old brand gone down the tubes. And I'll tell you right now, if you're going to buy a used Harley Davidson, now would be the time to buy one, because used vintage ones used to be thousands of dollars, and now you can get one for a couple grand. So, and if you did get one and the company went broke, you'd probably have to wait a little while till the parts for it sold out, because you will need parts, and aftermarket companies will pick up. That's if Harley Davidson goes broke, which it looks like they're on their way to doing that. They do have a good market in Japan. The Japanese love the American brands more than Americans do, unfortunately. So, anyways, this is something I read today. Now, a lot of people are predicting that the economy is going to crash hard, and there's going to be a really bad stock market crash, which we haven't seen in decades. Not just a recession, we're talking about a bad depression. Brought about because stupid people have been running the planet for about 10 years now. Far left liberals in Europe. This time around is going to be really terrible. Everybody is going to feel it. That's really the problem. So, Trump says we're ahead in the polls, which we are. The media is trying to make it look like we're not, and that Kamala has all this energy going on, which she doesn't. All she did was she picked up youthful people that turned their back on Biden, and they basically got back who they had in the first place before Biden went insane. So that's what's going on with that. I saw Rasmussen. Now a lot of people are like, oh, Rasmussen, conservative pollster, it's biased. Well, they weren't biased in 2016 against Hillary, and they weren't biased in 2020 when they had Biden ahead, and they've had Biden ahead most of this year until Biden started slipping in the polls with everybody else. So they're also a non-profit. They, well, what I mean by that is they fund their own polling. They don't rely on people buying polls from them. That's the big difference. And that's what I was explaining the other day, that people that buy polls don't want to buy polls to have their person not out in front. So a lot of times these polls will get tipped either lightly or heavily in favor of Democrats. So they've been caught doing that. CBS just got caught doing that recently, actually. So if you keep your candidate competitive, you can fundraise off that. People are willing to give money when their candidate is doing well, or if they're just barely out of it and they need help. Now that's not to say Trump is way ahead, he's not. But he is leading. And the media is not being honest about it. Now there was another non-conservative poll that had Trump ahead by 2 points that came out at the same time as the Rasmussen one yesterday. So that's what I'm talking about. So that was CNBC, had Trump ahead by 2 points. Rasmussen had Trump ahead by 4 or 5. And that's probably pretty accurate. And I'm telling you right now, for Kamala Harris, if she doesn't get Pennsylvania, she loses the election, and everybody seems to know that. She got too much ground to make up. And that's another example of, you know, Biden was in a much better position in 2020. She's still part of the Biden ticket. People know that. And that's why she hasn't shot way ahead of Trump. Because literally half the country does not like Trump. You have to concede that, whether it's justified or not, warranted or otherwise. They have poisoned everything with hate and vitriol. There's so many things that they've said about Trump that turned out to not be true and have been proven not to be. They've been debunked, but so many people still believe them. The good news is I look at the financials for CNN today also. They went from a $9 billion profit margin to now just barely making minimum. So they have really destroyed their product. And it's not just CNN, it's MSNBC also. MSNBC is kind of a little different though, because they don't try to hide it. They're openly biased. And they're owned by NBC Universal, a very, very big company. And they can absorb the losses better. So there's a lot of gamesmanship like that. And that's just how it is, you know, corporate money. So the good news is Kamala has pretty much plateaued on her surge, which basically put her a little bit less than where Biden was, because Biden was a little bit ahead of Trump for most of this year. And Trump would have surged ahead anyway a little bit, because now the campaign is officially going as the VP pick. I'm still seeing things on the internet rumored that Trump's going to replace J.D. Vance, and I don't see that happening. I don't. And if Trump were to do that, I would really sincerely hope it would be Tulsi Gabbard he put in there. A lot of people like Vivek Ramaswamy too. Problem is, when you're running for president, you don't want to have your VP pick be a personality that's as big as yours. So that's why I don't think he'll choose Vivek. Or Vivek. It's pronounced Vivek. I don't think you would see that personality that rivals Trump's, which it does. Vivek is very charismatic. And Kamala is finding that out with Walz. Right now everybody's talking about Walz and they're not talking about Kamala. And I wish people would stop doing that, because that plays into her hands. Granted, the stuff they're talking about Walz isn't good stuff either. Stolen valor, tampons in boys' restrooms for 9-year-olds, complete support for the transgender ideology that is very unpopular with most people. So what I'm trying to say is just hang on for a while. Things will level off and be normal. She doesn't have a pandemic to hide behind and not talk to the media or do pressers. And basically, she's part of the bad economy that we have. She doesn't have any solutions for it. She still doesn't have any policies on her website. She fully supports this transgender woke stuff, even though the media is trying to walk that back on her, but they can't. It's there for everybody to see, and they're going to see tons of it. You're going to hear about it in debates. So she's not going to get away from that. And it's not popular with people. Gavin Newsom bankrupted California. That's going to be brought up. She's out of California. And she voted and supported many of the same things. She didn't take care of the border. This is all stuff that's substantial that can be proven. And she's not going to do well. Give it a little time. They're still happy that, you know, they didn't have the doom and gloom of having Biden. And I still say we should watch the DNC. I really think that something might happen with that. Biden's pretty much been disgraced. The media is not talking about Biden anymore. Democrats aren't talking about him. They talked him down and they said, oh, thank God Joe did the best thing for the country. Now we're not going to pay attention to him. And he's a lame duck president. So he's got nothing going on. And Again, Joe Biden's a very prideful man. He's been waiting his whole life to be president, and then he got yanked out of it like that. He's very angry, he's upset. They forced him out. And I want to see if Biden has any cojones and does something about it at their convention. And I hope he does, because the Democrats deserve it. All he has to do is say that letter that was put forth was forged while I had COVID. I didn't agree to that. That's all he has to say. He's the president. Then if he says something, you know, like they staged a coup to push me out, can you imagine the commotion that would cause? Yowza. He could do that. Hope he does. That would be pretty awesome. I just wiped off my eyeball. So we got the new Trump Vance flag up, which has the fight, fight, fight picture of Trump with blood on the side of his face. Now the other thing to keep in mind, people haven't forgotten Trump getting shot. They've tried everything they could to discredit him for it, and they couldn't. Trump's gonna run it in ads, which he should. Because he didn't cower in fear, he didn't run off, he didn't look all shook up. He reacted to it the way you want a leader to react when something terrible happens. And that means something. So, people are still absorbing all this stuff. And it's not one of those things where I'm trying to convince myself by talking about it, because sometimes I think that's what it might come across as. No, I just have seen a lot of elections, and while we're kind of in a different era right now, it's still the same things that matter to people. We got all this war stuff going on with Israel, Iran, and that's a powder keg ready to go. Now, we're talking about that would affect the United States. And we still don't know if there's any sleeper cells here. I'm sure there are. Waiting for Iran to give the go-ahead. Some of these militants that came across the border, which they did. 270 something terrorists on the watch list. Were detained, but actually 276, I think, got away. They released them back out into the wild in the United States. And I remember this one film clip of this guy coming across, and he looked like he had his crap together, to be honest with you, and he just told the person filming, he says, "You have no idea who I am, but you're gonna know who I am. And you're gonna know it soon," he said. And this was somebody that just walked across the border. And I believe him. So the other good news is, if we get some kind of terrorist attack in this country, albeit that would be a horrible, awful thing if people died, but you have to remember what we saw in Moscow. We saw Muslim militants, at least that was the alleged who they were, but They killed 90 plus people in that mall, that concert in Russia, Moscow. And they could easily do something like that here. Do that in a blue city where nobody carries firearms. Free pickings, man. Feel really bad for them. So if something like that were to happen, the media would try to say that there's no ties to the border being open, but the Republicans would be on that like freaking flies on you know what. So the Republicans would be on that like flies on Biden. So now the other thing the media is doing is they're saying Trump is, you know, campaigning in Montana. Why is he doing a rally in Montana? The Democrats and pundits on TV are saying that. Well, that's easy. There's people running for the Senate in Montana. Trump wants to win the White House, the Senate, and the House. There's nothing wrong with that. He was 24 for 24 in primary voting last week. I don't know if you caught that or not. That's 24 of the people Trump endorsed won their primaries. They primaried other Republicans who were not on board with Trump. So Trump's trying to make change, okay? He's not trying to just get himself elected. He's trying to get other people elected because he knows he's going to need these other people to do what he wants to do. Or else this is all kind of pointless. So this is our big chance in this country right now. This is the moment. We need to seize the moment, keep your foot on the gas. Don't get complacent if we feel like we're ahead. You absolutely have to get involved, people. When I'm out and about, I talk to people, ask them who they're voting for, and if they said they're voting for Kamala, I'll ask them why. And if they start talking about Trump, just kind of like feel out the conversation in a non-condescending way. Because nobody likes to be talked down to or made to feel like they're stupid for the choice they made. You know, when they say something, you know, like Trump hates gays and trans people, and say, well, actually, that's not true. He's friends with Peter Thiel, and he's also friends with Richard Grenell, and in fact appointed Richard Grenell as an ambassador to Germany. Openly gay man. Did press conferences with him where he was holding his hand as his friend. And it's genuine, and explain that Republicans are against the transgender ideology, which is a kind of Marxist style political ideology. They're not against trans people. There are Republicans that are trans and gay, LGBT. They just don't have all that stupid alphabet nonsense with it. Basically, then tell them to go look that up on their own, you know. I mean, the information's out there. They're not going to present it to you, unfortunately. You have to go look for it, but it's there, you know. It's like the Democrat voters, the leftists, liberals, they honestly don't believe that there are gay Republicans. They don't believe that there's black Republicans. They don't believe there's Hispanic Republicans. They've been completely reprogrammed, a lot of them. I don't want to use the brainwash word because it's kind of rude, but use whatever one you feel fits. looks like somebody went crazy on this tree. Well, these smaller trees around it. Looks like they went bananas on it. Somebody with a driving school. Yeah, it's just misting a little bit constantly. It's not really enough to get me soaked, but it is a constant mist. It's pretty nice today, I guess. The weather was supposed to be much worse than it is now. Reminds me of that film clip I saw yesterday. Gavin Newsom, California. Down in one of those culverts in the Los Angeles area. He's walking around down there with gloves on and a ball cap, cleaning up trash left by homeless people. And if you're not familiar with that story, because largely people have ignored California and forgotten about him, put him on the trash heap of history of being lost forever. He came up $70 billion short on the budget after having a massive, massive surplus when he was elected. They have wasted all the money, all the taxpayer money, and you got homeless people encampments all over California, especially Southern California. So anyway, he signed an executive order ordering these cities to clean it up. And they're not doing it. They're ignoring them. So there's the first indication of why he's not a good leader. People don't follow him. His own people. So he's trying to push them to do it by going down there himself to clean it up and letting the media report it to embarrass the cities. And to be honest with you, I don't think they really care. These people are so corrupt and gone. Gavin Newsom's an idiot, a moron. And unfortunately, he'll be running in 2028 for president. You know, he'll be out to screw something up even bigger in California. I think what's really bothering me right now, I mean, politicians have always lied, but the media has always pretty much reluctantly at times would do their job and hold people accountable when they say just false things. So, you know, Trump gets a number wrong. It's the news media cycle. Trump was lying again. Kamala Harris can say Trump's going to promise us a bloodbath if he loses. And, you know, other big lies like that. When he was referencing an economic bloodbath, not a literal bloodbath. And then saying that he's going to be a dictator on day one with regard to reversing Joe Biden's awful executive orders, which, by the way, were dictates by Joe Biden. Things that dictators would do. So there's a lot of propaganda like that, and to see Kamala Harris speaking to a crowd of people and just saying it like it's true, and the media just letting her do it, they are scared to death of Trump. And they should be. After what they've done to him, when he gets in office, I would be hellfire as well. I'd fire everybody in the upper management in the FBI. I'd do the same thing with the CIA, and make no mistake, okay? Everybody remembers that clip with Chuck Schumer saying that our intelligence agencies have 6 ways from Sunday to get back at you. Trump going after them like this is stupid. They will get you back. So I'm like, Chuck Schumer, who is now the majority leader in the Senate, or was the minority leader at the time, is afraid of the intel agencies, and he's one of the most powerful people in DC. That tells you something. That means they have too much power, and I think Trump just said the hell with it, you know. I'm going after these people, and you know, if they want to kill me, then kill me. Trump's got no shortage of testicles, man. This guy's got the biggest freaking cojones I've ever seen in my life. I love this guy. I think he's amazing. So these 2 happy little fellas. So anyway, that's pretty crazy stuff going on there. Well, some more trees down here. Looks like they've been through pruning trees for the electric company. That's what it looks like to me. Looks like they've been pruning. So there we have that. Saw a couple new body cam videos from law enforcement trying to get up on that roof where that shooter was killed at the Trump rally. And some of these guys are not in good shape. Love you guys, but some of you guys need a treadmill. We'll be coming up on 3 miles around the corner. A little bit wet. Oh yeah. So we'll go down this way. Today's one of those days where I don't feel exactly as fresh. About an hour less sleep. And 5 hours of sleep instead of 6. Most of the time I get 6. Sometimes 7 or 8, but it's few and far in between. A couple of times I've had 10 hours Sunday morning. 10 hours of sleep. I think it's because Sunday morning my mind is more relaxed. Might be the case. So we'll get the 5 miles in today anyway. Let's see what else. Oh, I got a pretty good sweat going. The mist feels good when you're hot and sweaty. Whew. What I've really been impressed with, and what you should keep in mind when tracking the election, is what's Trump doing in other states compared to Kamala. And what I mean by that is states that Kamala, we already know she's going to win. What is she doing in that state compared to what Biden did in 2020? Or what Biden was doing in first part of this year. Like in Minnesota, for example, Biden was up 10 plus points, pretty easy in Minnesota, and Kamala is about 5 points or 6. Certainly looks like Kamala is going to win Minnesota, but what I'm saying is if you extrapolate that over the other states, she's underperforming. She's doing very similarly to the same numbers that Hillary did in 2016, to put that in perspective, okay? And we know what happened with that. So she has not run away with this by any means. Not even close. So that's why I know she's not ahead of Trump. The media can go ahead and try to portray it that way if they want to generate enthusiasm for the voting base. But they're being dishonest like they are with everything else. Kamala is underperforming in Colorado. That's another one. That was a state Trump had no chance in. Now he actually has a chance. And that's the kind of things I'm talking about. They have Kamala firmly ahead in Michigan, and she's not. She has to win Michigan, so that's what they're going to say. Wisconsin, the polling I've seen, Trump's leading there, but the media is trying to say that Trump's not. Kamala's ahead by a point or two. And kind of difficult when you get a list of 12 polls and about 5 or 6 of them are crooked polls and 6 of them are honest. 6 of them will have Trump about tied or a point or two ahead, and then the crooked ones have Kamala ahead. And what bothers me is you'll see Bloomberg, like for Michigan, he put Kamala 15 points ahead in Michigan, while even the bias polls had her ahead just by 2. So then when you average everything out, it puts Kamala ahead 0.5, which means Trump's ahead. And I know that sounds weird, but you know, I mean, more is more. So if they pad her numbers and they include those polls, then it's false polling. It's not real numbers. And I've talked about this on my walk recently, but I really need to pound this home to you. Go to a website that does a poll. Doesn't matter which one it is, they will always have a PDF, or they will have a website that has something called the crosstabs. Click on the crosstabs and look at who they're polling. Very important. You got registered voters, leaners, independents. That has a list of all the age groups that they polled, ethnicities. Now, some of the black vote that Trump had won back have been siphoned off to Kamala. because I have no idea why. I still think there's something funky with the polling there. Trump is still real strong with Hispanics, for example, so, and he's still doing way better with black votes than any Republican has ever done, better than he's ever done. So that's why the crosstabs are important to look at. And it also lists what was asked for questions on the polls. A good example of that would be they'll frame a question in a way they'll say, who do you trust more on this or that? That's an honest question. Trump has blown the doors off Kamala when you ask about the economy. 70% trust Trump more with the economy and money. So that should tell you something. People generally vote with their wallets and safety. Now, the other thing I've been noticing is the Democrats have really cooled their heels with abortion. And I don't see people calling it Rovember anymore. It did prevent the Republicans from adding to their House majority in Congress. But that's kind of faded away now, because people are understanding more about it, and the fear tactics aren't working. So everything with time ends up explaining things to a lot of these voters that react on fear, and they don't think very much for themselves. And so that whole abortion thing, despite the giant campaign they had with it, people have basically figured out that the Supreme Court just sent it back to the states, and they need to worry about the state they live in. And they also understand that Trump had nothing to do with that other than appointing justices, which he had a legal right to do that. And the Democrats made it an issue. So that shiny object is wearing off. All these little things that they were running on, now they're going to have to talk about the economy, where they suck at it. Put it bluntly, the Democrats, that is. And Kamala Harris does not have a good record on that. Obviously Biden doesn't either. All right, be careful today.
Oh yeah.
This guy in a wheelchair, I wish he'd go on the sidewalk. You know, I can't do anything to help anybody like that. He's obviously doing what he wants to do. So hi, hello. All right, 3.5 miles. 3.5 miles. 3.5 miles. wish I could see more polling for this area. They just don't do very much here. And it's mainly because, you know, unless a local media company does it, you know, it costs money. You've got to have people call people and get their information, and so it's kind of and you know, like I've told you, Trump is leading in this district by so much. The last time they did a poll here, I really don't see that changing. So I would like to see how Jared Golden is doing, the congressional Democrat running for re-election, because I want him out. He's a gun grabber now. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Democrat is a gun grabber. But he's going to say he's not grabbing your guns. He just wants you to get a tax stamp with the government. He wants you to register your assault style rifle. Screw you, Jared Golden. People get so grumpy in traffic. They get very grumpy. Grouchy. So tomorrow we got a chance of thunderstorms, which is a lot better than it raining, because at least we can avoid those if one crops up. And but I'm gonna go shooting tomorrow. It'll be nice. We got 9mm to shoot tomorrow, 308, 22s. I'm gonna be able to check out my GSG 1911, where I replaced the mainspring for the hammer in the mainspring housing. We'll give that a go. I was getting light hammer strikes. So we got this house here. Look at this. RFK Jr. Kennedy24.com. So we got an RFK Jr. sign, so that person's going to vote RFK Jr. supposedly. And we've seen a couple of Trump signs, and we've seen an anybody but Trump sign. So the signs are starting to come out. That's something we'll keep an eye on in our walks. Trump is way ahead in this district, so it's pretty much a done deal here. It really is. Most of the votes that he won't get will be in the more southern Maine, which is District 1. District 1 is very liberal They're the ones that are where most of the population lives. But most of the rural areas, and this is the second most populated area, so give you an idea, Maine is not completely blue, 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 blue. It may look like it, but when you look at it on a map, Maine is mostly red. Problem is, where it's blue is where most of the people live. Just like any other state, really. It's the same thing all across the board. Crazy. So we'll see what other signs pop up. I am finally happy to see no more Ukraine flags, even though I only saw a couple. They're both gone. I think people have realized it's a freaking quagmire. Something we don't want to get involved in too much. We're already too involved, and we're broke. Between COVID and Ukraine, inflation has gone through the roof. Just like it was predicted. I said we were crazy for it. Basic economics. The main cause of inflation is government spending. And then you further exacerbate that by restricting imports on climate fear-mongering, refrigerators and air conditioners, which is what they did. So they did that with refrigeration units. I've not priced any lately. But they did these restrictions on gasoline-powered snowblowers. They restricted the amount of imports. That's the problem, and we don't make them here. Okay, so that's really the issue. Less of them imported, cut in supply and demand. Right?
Hey.
All right, coming up on 4 miles. 4 miles. Misting a little harder now. Feels good on my sweaty face though. I do get a stop in the store up ahead. May enjoy that with me, perhaps. Probably not going to have it in my video, but I am going to record it. Almost 5 o'clock. No temperature on that. So we got somebody got pulled over by the police over here. You can see the blue lights flashing underneath their pickup. So we don't know why they pulled over. Pulling a trailer, maybe illegally. Don't know for sure. Probably don't have their lights hooked up properly for indicators. Tough telling, not knowing. I'm going to cut across. All right, let's cut through the parking lot. Oh yeah. I gotta get my 2-liter of fizz. And I'll stop recording when I pay for it. Hi. Hi. Sometimes I forget I got a camera on my head. People notice it. Get a diet soft drink. Tide me over until I do groceries in a couple days.